Askreddit asks, how does someone politely end a conversation with a person who won't stop talking?
I'm an Uber driver. I was once summoned to pick up two people for just this reason. They had me drive 4 blocks. 25 miles, 5 minutes to another bar just to get out of a conversation with someone. Minimum fare, $3.75, and $10 tip on the app.
I read one of those mildly interesting newspaper features recently with an etiquette expert. Their advice was, rather than make an excuse, you should be more direct that you are ending the conversation and say something like, I've really enjoyed talking with you. I'm going to circulate around the room now, as it's less likely to create an expectation you might come back. It does work too.
I'm going to circulate around the room now. Even better if A. You're in a park, B. You're trapped in your cubicle at work, C. You're beginning hospice and the nurse is going over the care plan.
Worst case I've ever had. I basically gave every verbal cue I knew of. Eventually stood up, then stood in the doorway, then backed out of the doorway. And this dude was still talking. In the end I just said, I'll be back, and closed the door on him mid-sentence.
I don't mean to interrupt, but it's got to be done. So just do it. They need a break anyway. This is the right answer. You simply need to interrupt him. Apologize for doing so and let him know you need to do something else.
I have to return some videotapes.
I have an 8:30 res at Dorsia,
but Blockbuster closed years ago. Continues talking.
I have to watch an Amazon rental before it expires.
We have a great line that we use in Ireland. I haven't heard it used abroad, but it could well be used all over for all I know. The person is rabbiting on and is showing no sign of stopping. You clearly and firmly say, I'll let you go. Then with the confidence of a person doing him a favor you turn on your heel and stride away. This has the effect of making them think you are the one wanting to avoid wasting their time. If they figure it out, they can't call you out on it, because to do so would be to admit, at least to themselves, that they are wasting your time. In fact, most people never allow themselves to think it might be them who is holding you up, so they accept the offer of your leaving in order for them to get on with their important work. In general, if someone says, I'll let you go, to me, rare but it has happened. I smile and say bye and end the conversation. It is a social convention and I abide by it. They want out. No ego. Let them go and the best of luck to them. People appreciate that, I imagine.
Mental health worker here. I see patients every day who will talk forever if you don't stop them. You simply have to interrupt and redirect, or end the conversation. I always politely tell them, let me stop you there, or let me jump in there. Sometimes you have to be abrupt, or else you will be held hostage by the one-sided conversation.
I'ma head out.
Leaves own house.
Slowly rises out of chair.
Heads out like a mad lad. A classic.
I used to work on a team with a guy who had Asperger's and some related issues processing social cues. He would get started on a subject and just talk at people for 30 minutes plus without pausing for breath. He didn't get the cues that people were losing interest and would continue indefinitely unless you directly interrupted and told him to stop. He wouldn't be offended and generally appreciated being told he should have stopped. It was almost a rite of passage in the office to endure an extended one-way lecture about his choice of bathroom tiles or the benefits of all-weather road tires over winter tires, etc.
Just because you don't have other plans for your time does not mean other people are entitled to have your time.
This is really important for everyone to understand.
I hate to disturb you. Of course, he expressed. He begged for forgiveness and stared at him stressed. I hate to disturb you. He said to him pained. It's just that you won't fucking stop. He explained.
I would gladly tip $10 to get me out of a terrible, inescapable conversation. Just curious, did the app add the $10? Or did they choose to tip that amount?
The tip is voluntary and user set.
Else it would not be a tip. It'd be the price.
U.S. restaurants beg to differ.
Anne was getting a little chummy. When people get too chummy with me, I like to call them by the wrong name to let them know I don't really care. Ron Swanson.
You're welcome, Lester.
I don't know who this Ron Swanson guy is, but I like him. In a non-sexual way, of course.
I worked side by side with a man for 5 years. Never learned his name. Best friend I've ever had. Ron Swanson.
SSSHH. Do you hear that? Quote question mark. No, one sec. And just run off.
As a parent, this actually happens.
Look, a distraction, runs.
This is the right answer. You simply need to interrupt him. Apologize for doing so and let him know you need to do something else.
Which is still a little awkward. Because I don't actually have something else to do. I just want to do nothing without having to listen to them.
Just because you don't have other plans for your time does not mean other people are entitled to have your time.
My dad's like this. When I was a teenager, he'd follow me to every room of the house talking. If I went to the bathroom, he'd stand outside and continue talking to me through the door. If I had to leave, like to go to school, I would literally leave the house and he'd stand in the doorway and continue talking as I walked down the path and out of sight. He still does this when I go back home to visit. It wouldn't be so bad if he'd actually be willing to have a conversation. But he only talks at you. If you try and say anything, he just talks over you as if you haven't said a thing. ETA. So far in the replies, my dad has been armchair diagnosed with autism, bipolar disorder, hypermanic disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and goodness knows what else. He doesn't have a mental illness. He talks a lot. It's just a quirk and I wouldn't have him any other way. If I could also stop being accused of not loving him, appreciating him, and being told I'll miss him when he's dead, that'd be grand.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day, you wonderful people.